Americans are being gaslit into thinking we're just getting lazier and we're too entitled and we're expecting too much.
Okay, I wasn't going to address that video at all until my own child sent it to me because, that looks pretty dismal for them. And so now I'm going to address this because this post is extremely misleading. So start by going back and watching that entire post and then come back here.
What I'm about to show you is not because I want to hurt people. It's not because I want to make you depressed. It's not because I want to make people sad or down on themselves. I'm only doing this because we need to bring awareness to this situation, because right now Americans are being gaslit into thinking we're just getting lazier and we're too entitled and we're expecting too much. The Great Depression is widely considered, at least where I went to school, as the worst economic time in American history. I want to show you the numbers on what the average income was during the Great Depression to now. Just for reference, the Great Depression is considered to be in this time period, 1929 to 1941. I looked at every single year and looked at what the worst year was. The worst year was 1930 economically for American households. So 1930, the average net yearly income of Americans, this is for one American, not a family, this is for one person, annually was $4,887. Well, let's look at how much money that is in today's money. I'm just gonna let this sit for a second. 1930, $4,881. I know I forgot it was a 7, whatever. 2023. This is for one person, not a family, one person. $88,000 a year in today's money. That was their depression. If that's a depression, look at what we're doing. In 2019, and this was the average income for one American in the United States. Just in case you wanted to see the exact number, I went ahead and converted that over. I even rounded up to 32,000 and put it in for 2023 from 2019, and it's 38,000 a year for one American. We are in a Great Depression. I mean, I said in another video, we're in the worst economic time in American history. We have the lowest purchasing power we have ever had in American history. And they want to make it seem like I'm lying. This is the numbers. One more thing, because I don't want to end on a negative note. I want everyone to remember something. If you're working full time and you found a way to pay your bills, you're never hungry, you got clothes on your back, a car that you can drive, you deserve massive applause for that. And I don't care what anyone says. Listen to this guy, what a baby. Look at him getting in his feelings. I don't care. All of us collectively that have made things happen under these conditions to take care of ourselves. Some of us have kids, take care of our families, wives, brothers, sisters, anybody. Even just taking care of yourself. If you've managed to make that happen, you honestly, cheers to that.
So this is the best explanation of the difference between a depression and a recession. A depression is when wages are cut so low that no one makes enough to live on. And recession is when the price of everything goes up so high and the wages don't follow that no one makes enough to live on. Now, at no point in this video am I going to say that we're in a fantastic financial time. But what Average Joe is saying is just not the case. I'm also unsure of where they got their numbers from. So the first thing we need to address is the numbers game. In 1930, the U.S. population was roughly 123,202,624. In 2023, the number is 336,750,837. The point here is numbers matter because they pull on the resources of what the United States has. Now, this is from archives.gov. The average income for one person in the 1930s is $1,368, okay? And that means a family's average income, yes, a family, I'm going to back that up in a minute, was only $24,912, equal to today. Why is it important that I said for a family? I'm going to tell you. You can find this information from census.com. In the 1930s, out of the total censored households, we have 29 million households that came up in the census. 25.3 million of them were headed by the man, and he is the only one that worked. I'll show you. Hold on. In 1930, and it was even lower prior to 1930, but as the Depression came in, More women had to leave the household in order to try to find work, and it was only 12% of them that did this. So the astronomically vast majority of households, which was the primary form in the 1930s, was supported by one man at 24,000 X amount of dollars, what's equal to today. And $1 in 1930 was equal to $18.21 for today. That is typical for the ebb and flow of an economy. So why is it so hard today? Well, there's two sets of things working together. One you can control as an individual, and one you can't. One has to do with how much it costs to buy a house, how much rent is, food prices, stuff like that. You don't have control over those things, okay? Unless you do it through the vote. And even that's questionable because we're run by big pharma. By big businesses, okay? One of the biggest ones that seems to be out of our control, regardless of the fact that you can vote. The minimum wage was created after the Depression. It was designed to create a minimum standard of living. Let's address that in today. The national federal minimum wage is $7.25 per hour. Roughly $15,000 a year. Nobody's living off of that. Okay? Period. But there are some very fundamental things that changed about us as Americans that it has a huge effect on why you can't make it today. And keep in mind, this is not a post to advocate a return to those things. This is only to explain how this plays into why it's harder for you to make it on your own today. In 1940, there was only roughly a little over 1 million men that lived single. Roughly 500,000 women living single. That amounts to 3.4% of the households back in 1930. Compared to today, we're 2021, over 38 million households out of 131.2 million households are single, male and female. 19% compared to only roughly 3.5%. Why is that relevant? I'm going to tell you. Y'all want your own place by yourself. You want your own car by yourself. You want easy foods that you don't have to prepare and cook, which is more expensive. You want cable. You want Wi-Fi. You want the newest, trendiest phone. Your car better be new because you need to integrate all that stuff. So therefore, you choose to get a newer car that you can't pay for all at once. And on top of it, so therefore, you have to carry comprehensive car insurance. Not to mention, you got to buy clothes several times a year. That shirt is so last season. Got to keep the AC at 70. You might perspire. I don't know about the male side of things, but then a lot of women think that they have to get this top dollar makeup. Got to get your nails done. Got to get your hair extension and your hair done. Get your eyebrows waxed instead of plucked. Bajillions of unnecessary things which are classified as luxuries, whether you like to admit it or not. So your standard of living is very skewed. And on top of that, your societal biases play into this even more. So a lot of you refuse to live on certain parts of town. You will refuse to live in certain types of housing. You refuse to drive what people would call like a subpar car. A lot of you refuse to work 40 hours. And the majority of you have champagne taste on a Miller Lite beer budget. You expect a lot out of people because you have way too much of a philosophy-based mindset. What people should do. What people should do is not reality. That's ugly, but it's the truth. And I'm not implying that you accept less just because that's the way it is. Still fight for better. But you have to work with what you have available. And this app and social media has caused you to have this delusion about what the true standard of living is in the United States. We have virtually no middle class. The majority of us are lower class. That's what I mean by you have a skewed standard of living. So in the state of the country that it currently is, you need to reevaluate where you sit on the financial ranks and adjust. By all means, still fight for what it could be, but deal with what it is.